Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to start a video that is actually a part 2 to a video I've done a couple of months ago. So I would highly recommend you go check out that video first, because in this video I'm gonna reread 4 books that I could not remember but had put as favorite books from the year 2017. So in this one we're trying to see whether my memory will actually activate when I start to reread these books, and whether I would still consider them favorites or whether I still enjoy them. So that's the kind of premise for this. As I said, feel free to watch the other video as well, where I went through my top 10 of 2017 and talked about all of those books. But the first book I started rereading is Jour by Katie Reichs. This is the second book in the Temperance Brennan series. Now you might know this because the TV show Bones was loosely based on these novels, but very, very loosely. So the characters are completely different. The only real thing that is comparable is the main character. She has the same name and the same job, but that's basically it. So I really liked the second book. I didn't really like the first book so much because it was still very stereotypical for a thriller or mystery novel. But this second one is really great. I'm now pretty much halfway through, even a little bit further. And on reread, I still really adore this book. I really like the way that I can kind of feel with the main character, because she is in academia, but she's also helping solve these crimes. And especially with the day-to-day academia life, I can very much relate. And so yeah, I just like that this is kind of very calm. You just follow this person doing her job, and her job is very interesting and sometimes also very sad and depressing, but I just like that perspective. And so the first half of this book has been a success so far. I really like being back with this character, especially since I haven't continued reading this book for a couple of years now. No, not this book, this series. So I stopped after the 4th book, but not on purpose. I just haven't picked up the 5th book yet, even though I own it. But yeah, so it's very great to be with Temperance Brennan again. And the fun thing is, I don't remember the case. This book feels familiar, so I know that I've read it before, but I still have no idea what the conclusion was, what the ending was. So it is very fun to reread this, and I'm glad that I decided to do it. So that's it so far, I think. I'll let you know what I think at the end of the book, whether it's still a favorite, but right now I have a pretty good feeling that it will be. So I did finish my reread of Jour by Katie Reichs, and I really loved it. I decided to give it 4.5 stars on the reread. I had so much fun with this book. This really reminded me how much I love a good mystery, a kind of thriller story, and I just love all the academicness of this series so much. The way that we see some of the day-to-day work of Temperance Brennan, but then also obviously we have quite a harrowing case with a lot of murder, and this basically has a cult that it follows and that is investigated by our main characters. I also enjoy the romancy parts we get in here, even though, yeah, there is no definite route for the romances in this series. So I really like Ryan. I think he's very cute. I already liked him in the first book, but I think in this one he really gets to shine. I think he is so supportive and he's really trying, but Brandon is not seeing it. So yeah, this book was great on reread, and I was actually very surprised how little I remembered. I fell into all of the red herrings traps as I did when I read this the first time. So yeah, it was very surprising at the end as well. I couldn't really put it down. I wanted to know who did it and what was going on. And that's just what I want from a mystery book. So I think this one is really great. Highly recommend this series. just get over the first book because that one isn't so great, but the second book already just speaks to my soul. I have so much fun with it. And that's the first part of this vlog done, so we'll see when I get to the next reread for this little video. So I'm currently halfway through my next reread, which is Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. I'm a tiny little bit sick, so my voice is weird. I'm sorry about that. But I wanted to give you a quick update. I really enjoyed the beginning of this book, just the summer vibes and this kind of like summer holiday feeling. But I don't know, now that I'm at the halfway point, I do feel a bit bored listening to it. I think that my kind of YA contemporary phase, which was never very strong, is definitely over by now. Even if it's like, you know, exploring like sexuality, which I'm usually interested in, I just feel like it's not giving a lot right now. So I will finish it, but I don't think that this will count as a favorite. I do like Julie Murphy's writing. I have enjoyed her books that I've read so far, and right now she's doing adult romance books together with Sierra Simone, so I actually thought I would check those out, but then I've heard really mixed things and I just didn't because I don't read a lot of romance anyway, and so if even romance readers are like, eh, I'm like, no, I don't need that. I rather pick up the ones that have very good reviews. So yeah, I feel like I've outgrown Julie Murphy a little bit, but I still like the book. I'm just not in love with it, and I just realized that this is probably not a book that I would have ever reread if it wasn't for this challenge, and that was probably a good thing. Like, it's just not something that is on my mind a lot, which, you know, that was the whole idea. Like, I completely forgot about this book, so I wanted to see what happens when I now read it again. And I guess what happens is that I'm just slightly over it, I guess. But I think for a younger audience, this is still a great book. It's just personal preference that is now keeping me from enjoying it more. So in case you don't know, in this book we're following Ramona, who identifies as a lesbian, but things get a little bit shaken up when her childhood best friend Freddie moves back into town, and they might realize that they are more than just friends. And I think that this book got a lot of shit back in the day because, just like 5 years ago, all of the LGBT representation wasn't as I don't know, well developed as it is now, especially in YA literature. So a lot of people were portraying this as showing that being homosexual, being gay is just a like a phase when you're young, and that's definitely not what this book is doing. I think this is kind of like a reverse bi awakening, and so I really think that this is not a like bad message, that you can change your mind or your sexuality can change over time, or maybe you just didn't know that you're bi because sometimes you just have a like very small preference for the other sex, and it can happen but it's not that like, it's not that probable, you know. So I do like that. I haven't changed my mind on that. But as I said, just the YA contemporary thing, not really working for me anymore. So I finished my reread of Ramona Blue, and I don't think I have a lot to add from the last time we spoke. I think the overall feeling that this is just not a book that I really needed to reread, and that doesn't really fit into my life right now anymore because I'm just so far removed from the themes of it. But I still liked it, so on reread I decided to give it 3.5 stars. I did not change my rating on Goodreads though, because I don't want to do that. I still think it's a good book. It's just not a book that really gave me anything right now at the point where I'm at in my life, basically. But I think it has very important themes like poverty and what that does to people, and it also touches on race in America, but obviously also on LGBTQ themes. So I do like all of that, but just like this kind of teenage storyline, it just didn't hit me as much right now because I'm just old. So yeah, it was fine. I think it was a good time when I read it, but now it didn't really do anything for me. I think what was kind of fun is that up until the end, I didn't really remember anything of the plot. So I was still very surprised by most of the things that happened. And so, especially with the ending, the kind of intrigue, the drama that happens, the very traumatic thing that happens, it still was very intriguing to me because I really did not remember what happened. I think that's all I have to say about this book. It's a good book, but just not for me right now. And so I would not say this is a favorite anymore. Definitely not. So we'll see. We have 2 more books to go, and I'm intrigued to see what I think about those. So I am halfway through my reread of Fahrenheit 451, and this one is a very, very short book, so I'm actually a little bit over halfway, to be honest, just because it's very easy to like get over the halfway point just because it is so short. But I'm really, really enjoying the reread. I'm definitely seeing why I love this book so much the first time around. I still don't remember what really happens. Like, I still have one scene that I remember, but I have no idea how we got there. Like, I don't really know what happens like in between now and that scene that I still have in my head. I remembered more about the world and how the world worked, but not so much about the plot, which I think with these like dystopian classics, that is quite usual for me, that I remember those dystopian worlds because that's usually what these books are famous for. But the plot is a little bit in the background, I guess. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm very happy to be listening to this again. Now that I'm listening to this in the original, so in English, I'm not so sure anymore whether I listened to it in German the first time around, but I am pretty sure I did. But I don't have like a big like different reaction. I would say I'm really enjoying the narration of the audiobook, and there's just a lot that is like read in a very interesting way that really sticks in the mind. So for example, the doorbell talks in this book. So the doorbell will be like, Mrs. Montag, someone's here. And this doorbell sound is like stuck in my head now. I hear it constantly, like, someone's here, someone's here. I would go crazy if that was my doorbell, but I really enjoy how the audiobook does it, like the narrator reads this line. So yeah, the audiobook is very, very good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having fun with this story. If you've never heard about it, this is a dystopian book about a man called Montag, Guy Montag, and he is a fireman, but in this world that means that he burns books, because in this world books are forbidden. And it's basically kind of like a dystopian world that focuses on this idea of like media dumbing down, and how when we only consume like very dumbed down media, that will make us as humans more non-caring, I guess. And so they are burning the books, and Fahrenheit 451 is the temperature at which books supposedly burn, I think. So that's where the title comes in. And I really like this because as an academic, I definitely see a lot of value in books and in education and stuff like that. And so this is the kind of dystopia that I'm really intrigued by, compared to all the other ones that usually fall very flat for me. Like I don't like, what's the Orwell one? 1984, and I really don't like Strange New World. Is that what it's called? Really did not like that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this reread. I'm glad I'm doing it. I'm a little bit hesitant whether it will be a 5-star, but probably 4.5 star. The one thing that stood out to me this time is when they talk about how this world comes to be, how the captain of the firemen explains that one of the reasons this happened is because they were trying to find a way to do media without ever stepping on anyone's toes, and so that the minorities didn't want to feel kind of embarrassed or insulted, and so that's why there's basically no substance to this media anymore. And I think looking at this passage from the kind of cancel culture debate point of view, that was quite interesting, because I think nowadays you could totally turn that around and say that that is like a very dangerous statement. At the same time, I think today we see that the actual minority who always screams cancel culture, the right-wing people, are usually the ones that are banning books, for example. So maybe it's not that wrong, just who is portrayed as those minorities in the book is wrong. So yeah, I don't know, that would be interesting to discuss, I guess, if you have a book club or something like that. But yeah, I'll update you when I finish the book. So I finished reading Fahrenheit 451, and I'm here with the final update, and I think I enjoyed it just as much as the first time. I think this is more of a 4.5 than a 5-star read for me, but it's definitely one of my favorite classics. It is my favorite dystopian classic, and I would still highly recommend it, and I still feel very comfortable with it being on my 2017 favorites shelf. So overall, this was a success, and yeah, I just had fun with the ending. I completely forgot everything that happened at the end apart from the railroad tracks. Like, that's the only thing I remembered. But yeah, there's definitely kind of an emotional ending in a way, but because these characters aren't really prepared to feel negative emotions, it keeps you at a distance in a way, because you're seeing it through these characters' eyes. And I think that is just so interesting, how there's like a very big tragedy happening at the end of this book, but these characters don't really know what to do with that in a way, because they just weren't prepared. And I think that was so interesting as well to see how that worked out. But yeah, I think still that it is a very valid kind of dystopia idea, and that by now we definitely have achieved some of those things, especially with just the high screen time that we all have by now, and how that affects people. And if you look at the studies about like children and infants who already use a lot of like screen devices and what that does to their brains and stuff. So we've definitely achieved some kind of like state where all of this like screen technology around us is directly impacting the way we live. So it's not the way that it is described in the book in a way, but I think we still have progressed into this direction quite a bit by now. And so, yeah, I think what this book kind of left out of the discussion is the whole like capitalism and these like liberal economics ideas. So I think if you consider that, you get a more full view of how the world works today. And the book focuses more on the like media pressure, the like boiling down of information, so it's like very easily digestible, and you don't really have to feel or interact with anything anymore, and then the war. So I guess this book looks more at this idea of just like calming the masses, so you can just do your war any way you want. So it's definitely a different focus from what we have today, but again, I just feel like there's still like similarities in what we're seeing today. So yeah, I love it. Very happy I reread it. I know I have one more book to go, which I will probably read during the winter months, and then this vlog is finally done. How exciting. So we're coming to the end of the vlog finally, because I'm now halfway through Little Nothing by Marisa Silver. Now this book I did not remember anything about, but now that I'm reading it again, I kind of know why I didn't remember anything, because the plot literally makes no sense. But I'm liking it again. So, what we have here is, I would say, like a dark fairy tale with Slavic inspiration. At the beginning, we follow a couple who are already quite old and they haven't been able to conceive a child. But then they do, they have a daughter, but this daughter is disabled. She's very small, and her parents at first are horrified, the mother more than the father, but over time they learn to love her and value her, and the same with her community. And that is like the first part of this, and I always enjoyed seeing that kind of change, that these people could see past her body to the like value she brought as a human being. But then things start going wrong. And basically, whenever this character gets hurt really badly, she turns more monstrous, more dangerous. And that leads to her, by the halfway point, to be turned into a wolf. And that's why I say the plot doesn't really make any sense, because it is this like fairy tale vibe. You just go with it. I also was kind of reminded of The Metamorphosis by Ovid, because we see this like transformation that our main character goes through. So I'm enjoying it, but I would definitely say if you want to read this, be prepared that it is a very unexplained and you just kind of have to go along. This is also very dark. There is at the beginning, one thing that really bothered me is that they use the G slur for Romani people a lot, and also the representation is very stereotypical, which, you know, with this being set in a kind of Slavic country at the time would probably be accurate, but it still just doesn't feel great to read this. So that's something I really didn't love. And then I also think if you're looking for like great disability representation, this is probably not it. It's just not. And then also I don't think it is great like Slavic representation. But reading it like as this dark tale, this dark fairy tale about this transformation of a kind of monstrous woman, I do enjoy that part. So we'll see how the second half goes. I do not remember what happens, so it's really like reading it for the first time. Like whenever I read a bit, I do recognize it, but I never know where it will go next. So it's kind of fun, and I think this will probably end up being a 4-star, maybe if the ending is really great, a 4.5-star, we'll see. But I'll let you know, and then we're finally done with this vlog. So I have finished the last book for this vlog. I finished reading Little Nothing by Marisa Silver. And in the end, I decided to give it 4.5 stars again. This is also the rating I gave it the first time around. And I think this is just such a special read. The criticism that I said, especially about the use of the G word still stands. I just don't really like that. But from a storytelling point of view, this just reads like a dreamlike fairy tale where everything is possible and where our main character, whenever someone hurts her, just turns more monstrous as you go. And yeah, I really like this. I also loved the ending, the way that it is very open but very hopeful in a way. And yeah, I don't know, if you just take this as this like dark fairy tale that reads really dreamlike, then I think you can enjoy this. But it is very niche. I don't think that there is like a ton of people who would like this book. I think there is a lot of people who would be like annoyed that so many things just don't make sense and don't add up. But I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And what can I say? Like sometimes a very weird story is just what I'm craving. And this is one of those times. So I think that's all I'm gonna say about this book. This video is probably already very long. So yeah, this one held up with the reread. So let's quickly go over this vlog. What have we learned? So I have reread 4 books that I could hardly remember. Now, one of the things I've learned is that there is reasons why I don't remember these books so well. For example, with Little Nothing, the plot really isn't important. It's more of the feeling and the, I don't know, like the writing, just enjoying that. So yeah, I probably will forget about this one very soon again as well, as I already did with some of the earlier books. Like I started this project a year ago and I have already forgotten so much again. And so that seems to be something that has to do with the books, that even though I enjoyed them, they don't stick in my head for some reason. But we started out with rereading the second Temperance Brennan novel, Death du Jour by Katie Reichs. I already forgot what that one was about, because after that I also read the 5th novel of that series, and so now I'm thinking of the 5th novel all the time. But yeah, it's just what happens, you know. I still like that whole series. I think I gave that one 4 or 4.5 stars on a reread, so that one definitely held up, and I have continued on with that series from that point, and the series is still holding up for me, so I will continue on with that. And it was a great time rereading that book, just to go back to some character moments that I had forgotten. And then we reread Ramona Blue. And that one really is just a case where this genre is just not something I'm interested in anymore. It is a YA contemporary with a main character who identifies as a lesbian but then falls for a boy, and kind of how that influences her life. But it also deals with some other themes. I think I gave this one like 3.5 stars on a reread. Just not something I'm interested in anymore, but that's okay. You know, we all grow older, and just the distance to a teenage character can grow bigger, so that's fine. And then we reread Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This one is still one of my favorite classics. It's definitely held up. Still not sure, 4.5 stars or 5 stars? Don't quite remember, but definitely held up on reread. I think it's one of the like better dystopians that I can enjoy, so I like that. And then last but not least, we had Little Nothing, which definitely held up with the 4.5 stars. So overall, I would say this vlog was a success. 3 out of the 4 books I would still consider liking very much. Maybe not all-time favorites, just because I seem to forget them so quickly, but definitely books that I still enjoyed 5 years later. And so I think we will continue this little project, and I will soon talk to you about my favorite shelf on Goodreads from 2018, and then we'll see how many books I remember from that. So I hope you're interested in that. I hope you liked this little vlog. Leave a like if you did, or also a nice comment. Let me know what is one book that you marked as a favorite that you don't remember, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!